Hey there, everybody. Matt Carter here from CarterMatt.com.
And Jessica Carter, also from CarterMatt.com.
And we are discussing NCIS Season 16, Episode number 20, entitled Hail and Farewell. I did not realize that we were going to get As the World Turns, the Leroy Jethro Gibbs edition on tonight's new episode, but here we are.
Yeah, there was a lot going on with him. This was a great performance, a really good episode. This has been just a great season.
Yeah, and it's weird to be saying that. I think in season 16, like who thought that in season 16 we would be getting like probably the best season of NCIS in like at least 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, and we're getting so many more personal stories. I'm not sure where they're going with all these stories, but this just feels like they've really taken a bit more of a deep dive this season, which I really like. I know this is a very procedural show, but they've been going a little bit more personal, a little bit more serialized. It's nice.
I think it's almost like NCIS is realizing that they're 16 years in at this point, and they're just kind of like, screw it, let's try something new, and
it's working.
Yeah, and it's working. I mean, we're getting actual new, interesting information about everybody. I mean, especially Gibbs. I mean, the big reveal in this episode, really, more so than the case itself, is just that Ellen Wallace, who is this woman whose body was discovered, is actually Gibbs's ex-fiancée, and we already know that Gibbs has like multiple ex-wives
that are all redheads. So I hear online a lot. I'm someone who's really enjoying the Sloane and Gibbs relationship. Yeah. I like to ship these two. I love Maria. She's so good. I loved her on Goliath. I really love her as an actress. So I was really excited when she came on the show. But the chemistry between these two characters, I know I'm going off on a little tangent here, but it's getting somewhere.
Okay, just take your drive.
I'm taking the drive. So it's just, there's such a beautiful chemistry. And online, every time I mention them, well, not every time, there are other people out there that are sailing on the same ship with me. But there are people who will always bring up the same thing. All of his ex-wives, they're all redheads. They're all redheads. I've heard it. That doesn't mean that he can't like somebody else with a different color of hair. And then here's the fiance that showed up. No red hair, blonde hair, just like Sloane, putting it out there into the universe. There it goes.
But maybe to just grab it out of the universe for a second.
Do you see what just happened?
Is it possible that this is why he broke up with her before the wedding?
We're not talking anymore.
Okay, well, this is going to be a very awkward video from now on. I'm sorry, everyone. We got to go. Well, no, this is the thing. We didn't actually find out why they broke up in this episode.
I'm sure it wasn't because of hair color.
No.
But what I love is that they have another thread that's out there. Why did he feel that he just loved this person so much that he had to let her go? What happened?
Yeah.
What happened? I don't know that we're going to get answers this season, but it might be a thread that carries on.
It might be. I mean, Gibbs is just he is the mystery wrapped in an enigma when it comes to his love life. Like, obviously this guy is very good with the ladies, but, you know, I still have all sorts of questions as to how this is possible when most of Gibbs' social skills involve conveniently interrupting things right before they happen to tell everyone to grab their gear.
Yeah.
Like, he is the most surprising Romeo of this degree in television history.
Yeah, he's had quite the extensive love life going on here. And also the extensive time working on that boat.
Yeah, Gibbs
that boat has been going on forever. And I used to work at a law firm with a lawyer who was building a kayak from scratch. And it took him a long time, but it did not take him years and years and years. It probably took him a year.
Well, if we know one thing about Mr. Leroy Jethro Gibbs, he is a perfectionist. Gibbs will be, when Gibbs is a skeleton, in the same way that the dead body was, I'm getting dark here, he will still be working on that boat.
You are getting darker, but if we're getting dark here, let's take that another step further.
Oh boy, all right.
And I want to give a little shout out to Brian Dietzen, because I love the scenes where he's in the morgue and he's talking to the people who are on the table. And for me, as a former funeral director, for those of you out there who don't know, I was a funeral director for a long time, and I worked in the morgue a lot, embalming bodies. And that idea of that, you know, reaching out to the person that's on your table and talking to that person, spending long hours in the morgue by yourself and having those conversations, it's not abnormal. I mean, I'm sure there's people that don't do it, but there's more than me that does do it, and not just Brian. So that was really cool to see, just a little behind the curtain in the morgue. It's not crazy.
There you go. See, we learn something new every day within the NCIS world. Talking to people in the morgue, totally okay. So this is, I think, the big question coming out of this for Gibbs. Because it's not, of course, Gibbs didn't murder his ex-fiancée. I don't think anyone really even thought that on this episode. But, I mean, the big takeaway here, I guess it's twofold. It's number one, the question you asked, are we ever going to find out more about why Gibbs and Ellen didn't exactly work out? But then beyond all of this, it's kind of, will Gibbs ever realize that it's actually beneficial for him to open up to other people about what's going on? Because McGee really tried. Like, McGee deserves a gold star for trying.
Legitimately pissed off.
Yeah.
That after 16 and a half years, that he is still not opening up to him. And McGee has a right to be pissed off at this point. You know, he understands you know, he respects his privacy, and that's great and everything. And as a person who's pretty private, I get where Gibbs is coming from, but you have to have those couple of people that you're willing to pull back the curtain and be like, yeah, I talk to people at the morgue. It happens.
Yeah, and
for me, McGee is one of those people. They have grown together. McGee has this, Gibbs is his family. Like, this is a bond of, 16 and a half years. Like, I get that Gibbs doesn't want to talk about it, but if you're going to talk about it to anybody, it's him.
I have one story beef with this episode, and
it
is the fact that Gibbs may be a private person, but let's kind of weigh things out here. Opening up a little bit, or sitting in that interrogation room for however long Gibbs was in there. I feel in my heart of hearts that if Gibbs was a normal, sane human being, I think sooner or later he would have been like, okay, I'm going to fess up, and then I can just get out of here and stop messing with that chair.
Yeah, but he also knows that he's Gibbs, so he doesn't really feel that he has to talk to anybody about anything. He's allowed to go into interrogation with a knife. I'm just saying, that was my little plot hole that's going on here. Why would that be allowed? I understand that it's Gibbs, but if you're going into that room, you shouldn't be going in there with a pocket knife. I didn't get that. It was a cute moment, but a hole.
A little bit. Just a little bit. All right, so while you may be shipping Gibbs and Sloane throughout all things NCIS.
Don't pretend like you're not.
No, I kind of am too, but I am also shipping Torres at Comic-Con. That is my new NCIS. Like, Torres is that guy who tries to act too cool to do all the uncool things, but the moment Torres goes to Comic-Con, like 20 minutes into it, he's like putting on one of the big Mass Effect suits of armor. He's like wandering around. He's like screaming lines from like, I don't know, Warcraft or something else. Like, he is Mr. Comic-Con after he gets there.
I just was relating to that of sitting there at that computer waiting to get tickets for Comic-Con, because I've done that more times than I would like to admit, and I've never gotten them that way. I have gotten them. We have gone to Comic-Con, but not by sitting at the computer at the ready. Like, they sell out like this.
Yeah. That is the most accurate thing that NCIS has ever done.
It was pretty accurate.
To show just how insane the mad dash for Comic-Con tickets can be.
Yeah, and that actually getting them online is not only really difficult, but how you usually get them is somebody who knows somebody who will hook you up.
Yeah, like all of that was pretty fun. It was a fun little B story.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's all it really was. Are you ready for this week's edition of, hey guys, we're not forgetting about the Ziva storyline?
I am ready for it.
This is a new tradition here on the NCIS CarterMatt YouTube channel. Just pointing out the ways in which that NCIS is just... It's almost like they're realizing that every episode they don't like move the story forward. Like all of the internet is going to crater in on them. So they're just like, okay, let's throw them a couple of lines to just kind of be like, hey guys, it's okay. We haven't forgotten about it.
Yeah, and they really haven't forgotten about it. They really have brought it in almost every single time. And, you know, as someone who loves Ziva, you love Ziva, we love Ziva, we don't necessarily need to hear it every single time to know that they're not going to screw us on this. I feel like they are going somewhere with this. So if I don't hear about it for one episode, I still feel confident that they are going to come back around to it. I just don't feel like they would have started this story to just screw us.
Well, I think there are two like little references in this episode. I mean, the first one, Bishop mentioning that she's had some near-death experiences lately. That kind of plays into what was happening to her at the end of the episode. And then you have the reference to Gibbs changing his rules, which, you know, I understand it's more than just Ziva with that, but it came about in the context of Ziva. So when I think about that, I think Ziva.
Yeah, it did come around in the context of Ziva, but now for me, him, you know, burning that rule and moving in this different direction has grown into something bigger than Ziva for Gibbs. And it's all about the growth of this character. And, you know, he's had his rules. It's helped him with his stability. It's helped him, you know, go forward in his job, in his life. And it is something that he, you know, he likes to live by his rules. It gives him what he needs. And now he's growing in a different way. And by actually burning that rule, he's allowing that little door to open to be like, okay, this little bit of growth is okay, and it's going to start to move forward. So having McGee come in and have that conversation with him and talking about the, you know, burning of the rule and that the, you know, he's moving in this different direction, it just feels like it's something bigger that, you know, the people around him are going to start to be able to look at him in a different way while he's actually looking at himself in a different way.
We're on the road to something here. Whatever that something may be with Gibbs, he's changing. Maybe he's changing for Sloane.
I feel like he is. Maybe. I like to think he's changing for himself. But, you know, if that ship sails in, that's all right, too.
If the NCIS series finale is Gibbs finishing the boat and then like taking the boat out with Sloane and they're just like rowing along in the water,
my heart may explode.
I will have to call an ambulance to revive what is going on over here. But all right, you want to know the bad news? There's no NCIS next week.
No, there isn't.
We are on a hiatus. There's already a video up at the channel talking about what's coming up on episode 21. It looks like it's going to be a two-parter, 21 and 22. They're linked. It's judge, jury, ... next episode, and executioner.
Yep.
We see what you did there, NCIS. You think you're so clever. But that concludes the discussion on this episode. I thought it would be fun to talk about sort of the added layer to the Leroy Jethro Gibbs mythology. And, you know, we have had some fun. But, yeah, there were some good performances in here. We talked about Dietzen, Mark Harmon.
There were some really great performances. You know, Mark at the cemetery, that was a really great performance. Especially, you couldn't even see his eyes because he's wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
It was amazing the amount of emotion that he still was able to convey without showing us his eyes.
Yeah, it was really, really good. One of the better Harmon performances we've had in a while. Sean Murray, also really, really good.
Yep.
More good Sean Murray stuff probably coming. But we want to know from you guys now what you thought about this episode. So give us a like, let us know in the comments, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us more, you can do so by checking the link in the description to the CarterMatt store. Coco Vanderwolf is here in the lap. She appreciates all of the support. Without Coco Vanderwolf, we would not have a site. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you here next time.